How's it going, guys? Randall aka Shizukats here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel to bring you our deck profile for Shakugan no Shana. Shana finds itself in a bit of a weird spot compared to its Japanese incarnation, since English doesn't have access to the Dengeki Bunko booster set until later this year, while in JP, Dengeki came out first. This means that we're missing some cards that many consider quite important to Shana's complete game plan, mainly the level 3 Dengeki finisher. However, this doesn't mean that we can't come up with something to play in the meantime. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the list, let's start by showcasing the defining card for Shana as a set, Torch Yuji. This level 1 assist has an extremely powerful continuous effect. As long as you have 2 or more other flame trait characters on your board, your opponent cannot deal damage to you with any auto abilities. His actual assist effect gives level 2 and higher characters in front of him plus 1k power, which is definitely useful despite not being the main point of the card in modern contexts. This is an extremely potent card against many popular decks thanks to the Anti-Burn text, and is a card that you should be aiming to put in any Shakugan no Shana list, with the list that we're going to be showing you today being no different. The list that we'll be showcasing utilizes 2 advantage climax combos instead of 1 advantage combo and 1 finisher like most decks. The power level of the finisher climax combos in the Shana Premium Booster is not exactly the greatest, and so instead we went for a deck that can play an extremely aggressive early and mid game to deal tons of damage at a point of the game where the opponent's deck state is most vulnerable. Let's start by looking at the level 0 combo. This level 0 Shana combos with Choice, letting you look at up to 4 cards from the top of the deck to add a flame character to your hand at the start of your Encore step and send the rest to Waiting Room. This ability works from anywhere on stage, allowing you to preserve a copy in your back row for repeated use over multiple turns. She also has a second ability that gives her an additional 2k power and 1 level for each flame character in your level zone. This allows her to go up to 4000 power once you're at level 1, putting her out of reach of most level 0 characters, and then goes up to 6k at level 2, allowing her to contest many costless level 1 characters as well. The level increase is not without its merit though, as reaching level 2 will allow her to benefit from the 1k assist from Torch Yuji, bringing her up to a very respectable 7k power line on either player's turn. The other climax combo we're using in this deck is the level 1 Shana Door combo, which is fairly similar to Bremerton from Azur Lane for any of you who might be familiar with her. She gains 2k power during your turn, bringing her up to 6500 before climax and 7500 after, and her climax combo mills 2 cards from the top of your deck on attack, adds up their levels, and lets you salvage a flame character whose level is equal or lower than the sum. Additionally, if the sum of levels was 2 or more, she gains an additional soul, giving you higher than average damage potential. This combo does require experience 2 to use, unlike Bremerton, but we'll be loading up our list with plenty of high level characters, allowing you to easily meet the experience requirement while also giving you plenty of cards to mill with the combo to get that spicy +1 soul. Between the 2 combos we have plenty of deck speed, allowing us to quickly go through any poor deck states that might arise. That being said, we lose access to that deck speed as well as our aggression if we don't draw climaxes to continue comboing, so you might want to hold on to climaxes a little more aggressively than normal in order to keep up the pressure. On to the rest of the list. Also, as a quick note, the deck list we have for you guys is full foil, showing off the beautiful Shana parallel cards, but some of the artworks will be different between the ones you see in the actual list and the sample images that are being shown on screen. Starting off our level 0 line are the Shana Rikis. On play, pay 1 clock yourself to search for a level 1 or lower character. The Riki profile has and always will be a fantastic way to set up your early to mid game with important pieces like climax combos or a brainstorm that you might be missing. And with such a big emphasis on early game combos in this deck, having access to Riki is a no-brainer. Additionally, she can buff 1k anywhere on attack once you have experience 2, giving her a bit of utility even when she can't contest lanes anymore herself. Once we have copies of our climax combo to work with, our next level 0 will allow us to preserve them for repeated use, the level 0 Shana Clean Cut. This is a very simple card, gaining 1k during your turn for a total of 3k power, and upon reversing an opponent, it can move one of your other attackers to the back row to use again later. This is the perfect card to pair with the Shana Choice combo in the level 0 game, especially since the combo can work from the back row. Next we have 2 copies of the Shana Fukajiro. The Fuka effect offers even more deck speed while also giving you a way to discard unneeded cards and hopefully filter into more useful ones. The On Death Pay 2 salvage can be quite useful as well, giving you guaranteed returns after an early game tri-field, while also letting you salvage key pieces. Notably, this effect can pick up level 0s that cannot be grabbed off of the Fuka effect, increasing your range of options, and in a pinch, This card can even salvage itself. We run one Climax Swapper in the list just in case you find yourself in a position where you have a ton of copies of one of the Climax combos, but not the other. In a perfect world, we would be able to seamlessly weave between the two combos, but we don't always get what we want, and having access to a Climax Swapper is always a nice option. Our brainstorm of choice in the deck is the level 0 Shana and Alistar. This is a top check 3 brainstorm, which means that our selectivity is limited compared to a salvage or search brainstorm, but this also means that we have increased access to climaxes if we find any in the top check 3s. She also has a bonus effect that lets us give 1k power to any character at the beginning of our climax phase if we have the Torch Yuji assist on stage. However, our biggest reason for running this particular brainstorm over other options such as the Hecate Salvage brainstorm is because we need to use it as an early play condition for one of the deck's level 3 Shana healers. Our final level 0 in the list is the One of Shana Drop Salvage, which can be obtained by participating in local shop tournaments throughout the month of July. In addition to the Drop Salvage utility, this Shana also has on-play Pay to Bounce, which can be useful in niche situations. However, we mainly run this card for the increased consistency from her Drop Salvage effect, especially since the deck isn't running a Salvage Brainstorm. As an alternative option, you could consider running the level 1 Shana Rico instead. This card doesn't require any stock to use her salvage ability, but her selectivity is at the mercy of the top card of your deck. Moving straight up to our level 2s, we have 2 copies of Prideful One Shana, which is a powerful beater. She can reach up to 10k power during our turn if we have a full board, and gains an additional 1500 every time we attack with another flame character, allowing her to be 13,000 power if we attack with her last. She also nets a blind stock if she reverses an opponent's level 2 or higher character, making her the perfect card to contest opposing early plays or big level 2s such as Miron, especially if they don't have the proper back row setup. As one final note, she also benefits from the 1k assist from Yuji thanks to being a level 2, increasing all the numbers we previously mentioned by an additional 1,000. We also run one copy of the Wilhelmina 3500 counter. This is mainly to protect our board at level 2 and 3 since that's basically all we're playing for in the late game. There's also a Memory Kit counter Kazumi that you could run, but just be aware that she's off trait and can't be picked up by either one of your Climax combos, or a Marjorie Da 1-0 anti-change counter if you're expecting a lot of over-leveled characters. Now on to the level 3s, starting with our early plays. We run 8 early play heals in this deck, 4 yellow and 4 red. The yellow early play requires the Shana Brainstorm and Torch Yuji on stage in order to be played at level 2, heals on play, and gains 500 for every other flame character on your stage. This allows her to be 12k with a full board and Torch Yuji behind her. The red early play is a heal to stock, and requires 4 or more characters on board in order to early play. If you fulfill her EXP 6 requirement, she gains 500 additional base power, and also gives 1500 power anywhere upon attacking. Both of these EPs are cards that we want to be flooding the board with from level 2 onward, using their heals combined with Yuji's anti-burn to stay alive for as long as possible and outlast our opponent. Shana and Yuji is our finisher, and is the exact same card as the 3-2 green Itsuki from Quint Set 3. 11k healer with experience 6 on attack, pay 3 ditch a flame character to burn 2. It's definitely not the flashiest card, but it gets the job done. The final level 3 of the deck is a One of Wilhelmina Fumio, which also has 2 power buffing effects, one for herself on play and one for any of your characters by discarding a card. Both of these power effects can come into play if you really need to clear the opponent's board and maintain bodies to reduce your opponent's soul output, but ultimately the main reason we run the card is to ruin our opponent's deck state with the Fumio effect and make it easier for us to stick damage. The deck's game plan is fairly simple. Use the level 0 and level 1 Climax combos to push for tons of damage from an extremely early point in the game and create a damage lead. With the help of cards like the Riki, Clean Cut, and Fuka with on-death pay to salvage, you should have a very easy time pushing 3 attacks down your opponent's throat from very early on, while still preserving bodies throughout the early and mid game. Then, once we've hit level 2, use the early play healers to widen the gap between you and your opponent, while using Torch Yuji to prevent any burn abilities that might help them catch up. Finally, close out the game with burners of our own and Wilhelmina Fumio if needed. The main thing that you will want to be looking out for throughout the game is the experience requirements of the cards in the deck. While you only need EXP 2 at level 1 to utilize the Shana level 1 Door combo, you need EXP 6 at level 2 for the red early play heal. For this reason, you will want to level 2 level 3s if you can, 1 yellow and 1 red. In terms of color priority, if you have the choice between leveling a yellow 3 and a red 3 when going into level 1, I will typically try to pick yellow since there are less yellow level 3s in the deck than red level 3s. However, prioritizing red can be the right play if you are at 1-0 and plan to play the red level 1 combo that turn. One of the deck's main weaknesses is itself. If you aren't able to maintain aggression with multiple back-to-back turns of climax combos, the deck will tend to run out of steam. Use the Top Check 3 Brainstorm liberally if needed to keep the engine going, or you won't be able to create a wide damage lead to play from. Additionally, since the deck's strength hinges on its ability to stop burn effects, it's remarkably weak against decks that have non-burn finishers such as restanders. If the metagame starts to shift in such a way that a restand-based deck is strong, this deck will suffer significantly, so keep an eye on the decks that will commonly show up. Finally, the addition of Dengeki Bunko will greatly change the way the deck is played, so keep on the lookout for some future Shana content when Dengeki releases later this year. While we probably won't have a full-fledged deck profile for the Dengeki version, we will more than likely be featuring it in one of the games of the Dengeki gameplay block, so stay tuned. And that's going to conclude our deck profile for Shakugan no Shana. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Coming up next is our Shana gameplay block, where we'll be featuring this list as well as another Shana list that has an actual finisher combo for comparison purposes. If you like what you see, please remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for all of our upcoming content. And until next time, this has been Randall aka Shizukats on the Tressa's Collectibles channel. See ya!